Welcome everyone. It is Arki Hodges here, president of the Black Achievement Fund. And I want to first thank everyone for tuning in today. Today, in addition to learning more about what the Black Achievement Fund is all about and what our current initiatives are and so on and so forth, we're going to talk about your role, our role in the fight against racism and white supremacy. I don't know how many of you are seriously paying attention, but virtually all of the gains that we have made Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying is that I don't know whether or not everyone is paying attention, but what is happening is we are witnessing what was once the far right of the American political spectrum have gained power in every realm of politics. The White House, the Supreme Court, and Congress. They are passing the most anti-Black, anti-Brown, anti-immigrant legislation since the end of Civil War. And you're talking about an administration that is just beginning. We've already witnessed the forcing of corporations to end DEI programs, departments, partnerships, which have resulted in the termination of over 300,000 Black women. We haven't even talked about Black men. And this is since January of this year. That not only affects those that were in those positions, but it also affects the legions and legions and legions and legions of young Black students who are about to enter the job market, to a hostile job market that has the White House backing to not even show you any attention whatsoever. You look at our role. How do we push back? How do we fight back? Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, was one of those who led a boycott against Target once Target announced that it was abandoning its DEI initiatives under pressure from the White House. And it was so successful that it forced the former CEO to resign. And it had huge financial impact on Target's bottom line. So there are ways that we need to always resist. There are methods that have always worked. And each one of us have to be conscious enough to be paying attention enough, reading enough, watching enough news to understand that there are things that are not just affecting other people, but are affecting you and the people that you love in profound ways. Colleges and universities being forced to end affirmative action policies in admitting Black and brown students. And going so much as even trying to dictate to colleges what is merit and what isn't. Because we all know that there are plenty of alumni students that get selected to these top schools and universities without having any of the qualifications that everyone else are required to have. So We know that what we're getting right now, this political climate that we're getting right now, is intent on restoring white privilege over everyone else. And they're using the power of politics to do so. The election of Barack Obama was a huge, huge, huge beacon for white racists to utilize to their advantage to say, we told you that you're going to look up and we're going to be governed by black and brown people. It starts with just one. Then you get two, then you get three. Then you're going to end up getting one who isn't so tied to the white establishment. What happens if we end up being dominated politically by black and brown people because we no longer have the numerical advantage to win national and local elections? How do we remain in power? They have been working, putting word strategies to action. And we have been sitting and watching the show with popcorn as if it's not real. And it's real. They announced a couple weeks ago the termination of over $350 million in grants to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. What was our response to that? What can our response be? The money's gone. He's in power. What are you going to do? Mackenzie Scott, the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, donated $70 million to black HBCUs to help fill the gap and to establish endowments so that these universities can become more self-sustaining. But for the amount of capital that we bring in each year into this country, what we make off of our salaries, our investments, and things of that nature, it is enough to cover many of these shortfalls. But we are not united under action. We're united in words. We all agree on the same principles. We all agree that we should be self-sufficient. We all agree that we should be self-governing. We all agree that we should have self-determination. We all agree that we should establish and maintain our own black cultural institutions, our own hospitals, our own museums, our own parks, that we should own land collectively and have our own cities and things. We all agree on those things through words. But action is not following those words. Every single one of us has a role to play in this fight against racism and white supremacy. Every one of us. And the whole reason is because a whole society of black people did a lot more sacrificing than what's required of us right now today. We are empowered in ways that are beyond the imagination of our ancestors. We have the level of capital, we have the corporate experience, we have the resources, we have everything we need to establish ourselves in a substantial way right here in the United States of America, as other groups have done, as we have done in the past. I talk about the fact that there were over 200 all-black municipalities during segregation. Over 200. And after segregation, those numbers plummeted to less than 2 dozen at the moment. So what we're seeing is that what we relied upon in terms of civil rights as the primary strategy and the solution for Black liberation worked for a short period of time. And in that time, things that worked during segregation disappeared. We ended up teaching a generation and generations of Black people that we had broke the ceiling for racism. Through the civil rights movement, we've gained access to go to any college or university, any school in the United States of America. There's no more segregation in public transportation and public facilities, any of those things. We can work at any corporation. We can sue if someone discriminates against us because of race. All of these protections, all of these things that ushered in a new Black middle class, the Black middle class that currently exists, all of that legislation is currently being turned back. And there is no corresponding civil rights movement that is compelling enough to stop the wave of pushback. Because where does it end? We look at fixing politics. I know many of you have heard about the redistricting fight in Texas. And what has happened is that the Republicans have successfully redistricted the state so that they will have more seats in Congress in Texas, even without being the majority population. This is real. All of the fears that you had about the far right and how crazy the far right is, all of those fears when just years ago, when you talked about the far right, now they are at the center of American politics. And they are carrying out a vicious campaign to destroy all programs, any benefits that Black and brown people receive from the federal government. They are here to restore white power by any means necessary. This is a dangerous reality where we are right now, because you have people who feel like they are on the verge of completely being annihilated by people that they once enslaved. Even though you and I know that that is the furthest thing from the truth. Black people are not sitting around planning on when we're going to be in political power so that we can pay back white people. I've never sat in any room in my career, and I've been in a lot of rooms from far left to far right, and I've never heard that. But it's about more than just the fear. The fear is what gives them power over masses of people. It is about maintaining power and control of a multi-trillion-dollar budget. that they get to spend every single year in controlling an economy, being at the apex, being the ones who manipulate the strings of an entire economy, the largest economy in the world. This is the power that they are fighting for. And we may be looking at politics on the basis of levels of, how much money is for school, how much money is for Medicare. No, 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 no. These people are looking at ultimately the people who are in charge of the economy, the military, all of the apparatus that maintain capitalism throughout the world. When they're going to be black and brown, conscientious people in these roles, they are not going to permit us to behave and operate in this capacity. They have a different worldview than us. We can't allow them to implement their worldview over our America. We can't allow ourselves to lose the advantage that we have gained through slavery and oppression of black and brown people. We can't afford to lose that advantage, because if we lose that advantage, then we're going to have to compete on a truly level playing field. And we haven't trained ourselves, we haven't educated ourselves to do that at a scale necessary to run a United States of America. So, what do you do if you are a people intent on maintaining your power despite the political changes that are preventing you from being able to win national elections? The bottom line is that this is a majority win democracy. So if you have declining numbers and black and brown people have increasing numbers, and you see that, okay, they're now the majority of the population, and you don't see a way to reverse this trend. You tried to turn Roe versus Wade to cancel that because white women have more abortions than anyone else. But that's not going to solve the problem. And there's nothing that I can think of that is going to end the white supremacist paranoia that black people are just waiting to get revenge against them. There's nothing, there's nothing I can do. There's no solution that I can think of to stop that, But black people, we all have a role to play. Joining the Black Achievement Fund is just one of those roles. Being active politically is still very important. When I look at black movements, even the Black Lives Matter movement, just doing a Google search of a lot of the images, there are a lot of people, black, brown, white, out there who understands that we need a higher form of justice. But we have to be able to harness that level of emotion, that level of energy towards independent leadership that leads us in a direction that will enable us to create the world that we want, instead of begging people, outsiders who don't have our vested interests, to help create legislation that will create the world that we want. When we have the power ourselves to do this, what is that power? That power is the ability to pool our resources and to establish our own self-sufficient communities, including growing our own food, building our own hospitals, dental clinics, museums, business districts, entertainment districts, having our own amphitheaters, our own arenas. Why is it outside of the realm of possibilities for us to be able to build a mighty and glorious city right here in the United States of America, when people create new cities, new municipalities every single year? What is stopping us from manifesting the highest form of Black liberation that we could muster here within the United States? And that is the establishment of our own municipality, where we appoint our own mayor, where we create our own court system, appoint our own judges, our own prosecutors. We have our own police department. We appoint and hire our own police officers. We collect our own property taxes. We oversee our own election and accounts for votes from our municipality. We control our own water source, our own sewage system. We have the ability right now to establish our own safe havens, as we did during the worst of times in America. This is just a tip of the iceberg of what's happening right now. Remember, we face far worse. And what did we do? What solutions worked? It was establishing our own everything. We had over 200 towns. We had over 100 Black-owned hospitals at one time. We had literally thousands of Black businesses. We had prosperous Black neighborhoods all across America. And so many people are so fixated on how many of these communities were destroyed that they use that destruction as one of their apprehensions about creating new black communities. People tell me, yeah, but if we create them, you're gonna get a white supremacist that's gonna come and burn it down. So what you're saying to me is that you submit to white supremacy. That you're so afraid that some white people are gonna come and burn down this community that you refuse to create something great and beneficial for yourself and for your people. Every one of us has a role to play. And that role, there has to be action to that role. You have to do something. You can't just talk. Our enemies are not just talking, they are organizing. I watched the funeral of Charlie Kirk, well, saw a lot of the images rather, and I looked at how many people were there. And this guy was a public racist. I say, man, in so short period of time, they're able to organize all of this and get 70,000 plus people in here. the administration removing history about slavery, Ku Klux Klan, lynching, all of those things from school. And it's called the Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History executive order that Donald Trump signed. Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. So now they're cleansing themselves of all of the evil and wrongdoing. That never happened. That was all fake news. There was no slavery. They came over here in their own free will. All of that other stuff, that was a Democratic hoax. Information about Buffalo Soldiers, information about Jackie Robinson, removing historical information about Black people from national monuments and museums. They'd already started doing it in the school curriculum. And doing this at a time when only 7% of all public school teachers are Black. So the level of propaganda that our children are under is higher than any time that I could ever imagine. I was lucky enough to go to school where all my teachers were Black at many periods of my educational experience. And even in the schools where you have all Black teachers, they're not permitted to teach anything empowering about Black people, and they're scared to do so out of fear that they'll lose their job. And their job and their career is one and the same. That's all they're there to teach. So to transition out of that and to do something else because you've been blackballed out of your career, it's very difficult. And this is a result, again, of us not controlling our own education system. You have other groups of people that aren't sending their children en masse to public education here in America. We forget that we established our own schools after enslavement all across the country with nickels and dimes pooled together. Worked together to build schoolhouses, additions to churches that were used for educating our own. All that history, where is that being stored? Who is teaching that? How are our children supposed to know this? Through osmosis? Are they being taught that in school? We here at the Black Achievement Fund are saying that we all have a role to play. Being a member of the Black Achievement Fund, that's a small role. $9 a month, that's a small role. And we're working our butts off to show that we have the capacity, and not with 20,000 people, a million people, 10 million people, with less than 5,000 people, that we could build our own self-sustaining communities on our own terms, that we can grow our own food, that we can create our own cultural spaces, our own conference centers, retreat centers. We're saying that we know that we can do this, and we know that it makes sense to do this. We know that we have the resources to do this. We know that it's been done before. So why won't we do it again? Why won't we do it again? And I'm saying to you, Even if you're saying, you know what, leadership, black leadership on this grand scale with sharing money, I don't know, I don't trust it. Do it with the people you trust. Do it with your family and friends. Replicate what the Black Achievement Fund is doing with your own group of people. Because what we're saying is that this needs to be the next movement. We are already entrenched politically. Our group is already inclined to vote. How much power do we have to put in place the Democratic candidate for president, the senators in these communities? So our power is very limited when it comes to electoral politics. And that's not to say that it's insignificant and that we don't need to focus on it. I'm saying that it is not a panacea. In addition to that, each one of us has to be active in the same way and match our enemy's energy. Because if we don't, what's next? What if they say we're going to repeal the 13th Amendment where black people were given citizenship? They repealed Plessy versus Ferguson. What do you do then? If our resources depend on mainstream America, i.e. white America, if our education depends on other people, if our very physical health depends on other people, what state are we really in as a people? It's a state of dependency. When we can live in a state of independence. But it begins with not me. It begins with you and you and you and you and you and you and you. Saying it one time may not stick. But you have to understand that I have to be a warrior for my people. And me running my mouth off about this solution and that solution, me getting in the streets, me signing a petition, whatever it is, but it has to be action oriented. It can't just be talk. The redistricting of the Texas congressional districts is troubling on a multitude of levels. If white races are able to successfully create districts throughout the country where they can ensure that Republicans remain in power with those views, then they can, for years to come, decades to come, determine the outcome of American politics. And that means their brand of American politics. That means cleansing of all of the statutes, the civil rights statutes, executive orders, legislation, all of that, turning that back and making this a place where white people can feel proud of their conquest without having anybody come in and raining on the parade, talking about you're evil, talking about this was illegitimate, talking about you ain't really do this. They are here to kill all that noise. And what is our response? It seems that we're just sitting and waiting for others to produce someone formidable enough to oppose these people politically. Because for as long as I've been born, our almost exclusive strategy has been political incorporation, backing candidates that were going to back Black issues. But it moved away from anything relating to ourselves being the one that solved our solution. Ourselves, ourselves, ourselves. In addition to all of these things that are happening to us on a political level with racism and the regaining of power of white supremacists, is that all of the things that we have that worked, they have disappeared under integration. Our culture, when we think about, I'm going on 50. When I think about my childhood, before there was internet, computer, and social media, and all of these things that are propaganda machines, tablets and all of that, scrolling all day long, all day long. We have a culture where social interaction has always been paramount. Our culture not only sustained us during enslavement, but helped us to overcome it masterfully. As segregation ended and we became more integrated, the integration was being imposed on us in a way in which we had no control over what was being taught. We lost that control. When Black teachers integrated into white school systems, they weren't the principals, they weren't the superintendents. We're dealing with a situation where reviving our culture, buying land that we've ceded, creating new communities that have a balance of social life, nature, and also harvesting of our own food. Having a place to go, a hospital that we own and control, and you see all of the state-of-the-art medical equipment that we purchase collectively. Knowing that we're paying the salaries of these doctors, of these nurses, that we're using our wealth to sustain a new economy that is not just enriching us individually, but is enriching us through all of these quality of life enhancements. We all know how much better a person is, a Black person is, if they see a Black doctor. Studies have been done. We all know how much greater an impact a Black teacher is on a Black student. Tons of studies have been done. So when I talk about our role in the fight against racism and white supremacy, I'm talking about action. Not just talking, not just, having conversations on the phone. Oh, yeah, you heard about this? Yeah, I heard about that. Man, it's terrible. It needs to be next. Well, what are we going to do about it? Well, what are we going to do about it? Who's leading the charge against this? But we have to get active, and we have to get our children active. We have to have real conversations with them about the state of affairs, because they're about to walk into a situation that they're not ready for. What happens when this next group of young Black college graduates go and apply for jobs in this new white dominated corporate space that is conservative, and it's conservative by mandate? All of the people who are racist now have carte blanche permission to be racist in hiring. That's what this is. So let's demean the education of Black people still. Let's say that the only reason that they got into these top schools is through affirmative action, and that they're not qualified to be in the positions that they've been catapulted to. Now, by not hiring them at all, where are they going to go? Who are they going to get money from to compete when the banks are aligned with them? We are squandering the position of power that was handed over to us by the civil rights leadership. Their strategy was for their time. Their solutions, yeah, they wanted them to echo through the end of time. But we live in a political world where political change can be as rapid as the wind. And we are seeing that. The most liberal of political acts that we could have thought about in our lifetime, the election of a Black president, to the most racist president that we've had in our lifetime, openly. There's no way that that's just a coincidence. That is words, developing strategy, and following through with action. They got together, they made phone calls, they got together, they knocked on doors. Their wealthy people paid people like Charlie Kirk money, millions of dollars, to do college tours, to spread their rhetoric. But this was ideology in action, not just words. You didn't just see them with talking heads. You saw them making policy decisions, policy recommendations, new policies that eliminated all the gains that Black and brown. What do you think Doge was about? Doge was in your face. I'm going to comb through every single dollar the federal government is spending with contractors. And all of those Black and brown contracts, we're going to end them. Do you know how many Black businesses at the top rely almost exclusively on government contracts? It's a lot. It's a lot. So this is an opportunity for each and every one of us to step up our resistance game, to be more than just proud to be Black, but to be a fighter. In addition to running the Black Achievement Fund, one of our missions is creating that community that we're talking about. We've been talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, talking about it. We've acquired the land. We've done all of the pre-construction work to be able to develop our first mini subdivision. We've already poured the concrete for our first house. We've closed on our construction loan for the second house, which we're going to start building promptly starting this week coming up. But we are sharing, and I just want to bring that up. We are sharing our knowledge openly with our whole community. We've created a blog. So if you go to our website, you go to New Kemet, scroll down, you'll see New Kemet blog. Okay. All right, and the blog charts all of the processes towards getting these houses built. You'll see information on everything from putting the electricity in, the rough end plumbing, the pouring of the concrete, the leveling of the lot. All of those things are in our New Kemet blog. So if you haven't seen that, go and check us out, because one of the things that is so important for what we're doing with the model of collective economics is people have to gain trust and see that A, there's real work being done, and B, does the leadership have the capabilities of manifesting what they're saying? These are two important aspects of our work, and we're trying to showcase through this project that we have both. All right, we're not just talking here with the Black Achievement Fund. We're not waiting until we get to 10 million people. We're not discouraged at the level that we are right now. We're saying that we are moving forward in a substantial way. We have talked into existence our first mini subdivision in a retreat in which we have this land. So it's not an abstract concept. This is real, and it becomes more and more real every day. And I'm enjoying having the job of showcasing the fact that we have the ability ourselves to build these communities from scratch. We're in a part of town that is unincorporated. There is no city sewage, there is no connection to city water or anything like that. We're getting our water directly from an aquifer that sits underneath us. We control our own sewage system. We're putting in brand new pipes for our waters to flow from our wells into our homes. We don't have to worry about someone else controlling that. We're not utilizing all of the land for residential buildings so we can make a ton of money off of homes. But of the 112 acres that we have, only 45 of those acres is relocated to residential development. But we're making sure that we have plenty of space to raise our own crops, to raise our own chickens, to have goats and sheep and things like that, nature trails, our own orchards, our own greenhouses, growing our own medicinal vegetables, our own medicinal herbs. But this is what we should be doing. This is what is in our power, our capabilities right now, today. And in doing so, we are enriching ourselves individually. we are putting money in the hands of other black contractors, subcontractors. So we're creating whole economies with the establishments of our own communities. And as we build these communities out to municipalities, now we have the power of self-governance. When you look at what other groups have done, you look at Utah. The Mormons went to Utah, dominated the population, and thus dominated the political system. You can't win an election there unless you're a Mormon, because everybody voting Mormon. You look at the Amish. They have their own self-governing communities. You look at the rich. You look at Beverly Hills. One of the most celebrated American municipalities that you've ever heard about. It's a rich enclave. They run their own city. Their police department is one of the most sophisticated police departments in the United States of America, because they have the money to do it. So there are plenty precedents out here for us doing exactly what I'm saying that we should be doing, what the Black Achievement Fund is doing. And this is a movement that is about action, that is not just about words, about action. Your $9 matter. And it doesn't matter if you tell 50 people and they don't put their $9 in. That doesn't lessen the value of your $9. Your $9 matters. We have been doing a whole lot with a small amount of money for a very long time. So we're hoping that once we continue to show and prove, build out our new Kemet community, that more and more of you gain more trust in what we're doing, and understanding that this is one of the most important aspects of the Black liberation movement, and that is the quest for independence, the quest for self-sufficiency, the quest for sustained unity where it matters, not just through talk, not just through sharing social media. I'm talking about truly restoring our culture. Some Black Achievement Fund members had an event out in our parking lot a couple weeks ago, and they drew a hopscotch game out in the parking lot with chalk. And just something that simple, I was like, wow. I remember when girls used to play hopscotch all the time, and the different games people played outside, and the newer generation don't know any of these things. When I sit and assess the culture that Black children are being reared in, it's no longer more African American culture than it is American culture. And what I mean by that is, look how much time young Black kids now spend in American cultural spaces versus Black cultural spaces. So when I say American cultural spaces, I'm talking about things like social media. That's an American cultural space. Video games, that's an American cultural space. Playing throwback run through, playing hopscotch, playing hide and seek, playing in the whatever. Being outside, playing amongst each other, that has always been an integral part of African American culture. Getting together at each other's houses, feeding each other, family reunions, community gatherings, cookouts. It was all social. It was all social. We had less autism. We had less depression, less suicides. Our children now don't have as much African American space as we grew up in. They don't have communities of Black people where the things that we did are still there, are still viable. Even having a community center where everybody gathered and played basketball and went swimming. Having our own summer camps. This is what we're fighting for here at the Black Achievement Fund. And your role can be whatever you make it. But it has to be something other than talking. Because our enemies aren't just talking. Their words are being manifested through political appointments, political wins that have changed the landscape of politics and for Black and brown people, immigrants, bigger than anything we've seen in our lifetime. So we need you who are watching. Share this, but also get active some other way. Join a fundraiser somewhere. Start a petition. Think of some way that you can resist. But all of us need to be resisting in every way, shape, or form. And words are still powerful. I don't want to minimize the importance of words and having these conversations, because that's as important as well. All right? But words and actions, not just words alone. We didn't have to brave fire hoses and water hoses and lynchings and beatings. We didn't have to brave those things like our ancestors have had to do. We have more creative ways to resist. We are more educated than we've ever been. But the problem is that our education has been directed away from the development of our own communities. The best and brightest of our race are vying to work for white corporations. There aren't institutions that we've created to be able to absorb the latent talent of the Black intelligentsia, the young Black kids that are graduating college, that are brilliant. What state-of-the-art factories do we have to come and train them in state-of-the-art equipment? What state-of-the-art plants do we have for our engineers to come and see how theory is transformed into practice? How many spaces do we have? We dominate sports and entertainment. How many sports arenas do we have? We have so many things that needs to be on our agenda. But we have to have some type of organization to say that this is our agenda. Whether you join the Black Achievement Fund today or not, I'm imploring you to please become a warrior for yourself and your people. Find ways that other people are resisting. Join that. We need to have everybody out here resisting, because once more damage is done, we may lose a lot of these avenues for protest that we have available right now. All right, we're right at 3 o'clock. For those of you also interested in our newest educational curricula from Education for Life Academy, that is free to Black Achievement Fund members. It is in our members only, on a members only page. If you need the password, you can go to request that at info@baf.solutions. And I just want to let you see how to access it. My internet's a little slow, so please forgive me. Okay. Well, once you go to our members only page, all you have to do is scroll down. You'll see the ad for the new Breaking Barriers African American History series, volume 1. And it will take you to this curriculum in particular. And there are 10 classes. And these classes highlight the roles that each of these individuals played in the fight towards Black liberation. And these are some absolutely remarkable people that many of them you've never heard of. And those of you who have heard of some of these people, there may be some things that you may not have known about them. So I implore all of you to take advantage of this free resource. For every class, there is a quiz, an online quiz. And if you pass that quiz, you get a downloadable certificate of completion from Education for Life Academy. And once again, this is a little information about each one of these classes and the individuals that the classes are focused upon. And once again, this is us saying that we can't sit and wait for someone else to teach our history. We have to do it ourselves. So for all of you Black Achievement Fund members, if you're a member, please go to your members only page online. And once you go in there, you'll just scroll down and you'll have free access to the curriculum. Please also share and promote it. It's $39 for non-Black Achievement Fund members. We do have a coupon code for, I believe, $15 off. And that coupon code, I have to update you later because I can't remember. Anyway, thank you all for all of your support. We are thankful for all of your $9. If you know that your $9 isn't coming out, please go online and update your credit card. If you get charged twice, obviously the duplicate will be deleted. But we need all of you who are members to make sure and stay on top of your $9 monthly payments and to continue to share information about the Black Achievement Fund. All right, I'm going to go ahead and sign off unless there are any comments from any of our members that are online. Any announcements or anything? All right. Love you guys. Continue this fight. We are in this together. We can't just be asleep at the wheel. Join the Black Achievement Fund, baf.solutions/join. Continue to share our social media to get everybody else to join. And wherever you see somebody out doing something, hey, if it's only an hour of your time, please know that it matters, that people are out on the ground working to make change. So if you just show up at an event, that is going to mean the world to that person who put that event together. That's going to inspire that person to put the next event together. But we have to get out there and we have to support every single Black person who is actively working towards solutions that are fighting against racism and white supremacy. All right, that's my spiel for today. Love you all and hope to have another blog post for you on the next update for our new Kemet project, which is our framing. All right. So love you. Pass this along and